Hey, maybe we can send Eric Swalwell to Iran. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the big show. Just trying to, solve multiple problems at once. The Eric Swalwell story was funny for a while there. Yeah, we have another perv, and he was creeping on his staff and younger women. And, while that's unethical and kind of gross, it's not criminal. Well, now we have criminal. Coming up after, I'm going to update you on Iran, and then you're going to hear from one of the accusers that I'm surprised isn't the headline audio on every show right now. That's coming up. But first, the serious stuff. Iran. So Donald Trump sat down 90 minutes ago, and he did his little statement and didn't really take a whole lot of questions from the press here. But this is the substantial part, because what we're looking for, you've been listening, unless this is your first time to turn on talk radio, you know the context. You know when we went in, why we went in, what the objectives are, where we're at on all the objectives, what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz. So in these day-to-day media availabilities, this is just the next update. This is turning the page on the next chapter of history that's slowly unraveling in front of your eyes. So this is a 2-minute summary of how President Trump sees the Iran conflict right now.
Hitting Iran's military capabilities at a level that few people have ever seen before. People never knew there was such a capability. We're the strongest military anywhere in the world by far. I built it during my first administration, and I used it during my second administration. Unfortunately, because I'd rather not have to use it. But it's a display of force and precision and skill like nothing the world has really witnessed, although you got a pretty good witnessing of it in Venezuela also. And that was a smaller version of what we're doing now. We're crushing their missiles and drone stockpiles, destroying their defense industrial base. We've wiped out their Navy completely, their Air Force completely. We've wiped out a large percentage of their missiles. And the missile launchers, without the launchers, the missiles don't do any good. And we've knocked out probably close to 90% of the launchers, probably more than 90% of the missiles themselves. Between some they fired and more than they fired, we knocked out. We've also destroyed a lot of the factories. We're continuing to do that, but a lot of the factories where they manufacture the drones and the missiles. The drones, too, are way down, but the reason they're down is they go one way and they don't come back, because for the most part, we're shooting them down. But we also are able to, we've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. And they are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that.
So this is all in retaliation. This is the second day now of the blockade. And remember, on yesterday's show, Donald Trump was telling you this has one sticking point, and it's the uranium is what he's, this is going to be the hardest part of the Rubik's Cube to solve, because it's easy to knock out missile installations. It's easy to sink a Navy. But in a nation that is filled with mountains, where they have had 47 years to dig tunnels and just catacombs and mazes underground that aren't reachable by bombs, that aren't visible by satellites, that you can't see from a drone or an unmanned aerial, unmanned aerial vehicle or something like that. No, we may never get this dust. But this was from yesterday's show.
Are another round of talks planned with Iran? And if so, will you send Vice President J.D. Vance with?
Well, he's done a good job. And Steve and Jared, they've all done a very good job. And I can tell you that we've been called by the other side. They'd like to make a deal very badly. Very badly.
What was the sticking point over? You said it was over nuclear.
It was over nuclear. Very similar, yeah, very good. I guess you're listening. It's over the fact that they will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran, you marking it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And we agreed to a lot of things, but they didn't agree to that. And I think they will agree to it. I'm almost sure of it. In fact, I am sure of it. If they don't agree, there's no deal. There'll never be a deal. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the dust back. We'll get it back either. We'll get it back from them or we'll take it.
So is it really that easy? Because I think that's a reasonable ask. You give us the uranium, we'll open these straits again. Because we're in an advantageous position now where Iran definitely needs those straits open more than we do. We can make our own oil. I've also heard that they only have about 3, maybe 4 more days before Iran runs out of places to store the oil they're currently pumping. And then what do? Like a third of their economy just grinds to a halt? Now, the other big players in this, one of them is China. No one has to like this, the Straits of Hormuz being closed. This ruins everyone's weekend. I mean, except for ours. But China spoke out. They said, and I'm not going to do the voice, so don't ask me. But it says, with the temporary ceasefire agreement still in place, the United States ramped up military deployment and resorted to targeted blockade. This will only aggravate confrontation, escalate tension, undermine the already fragile ceasefire, and further jeopardize safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. It is a dangerous and irresponsible move. China believes that only a complete ceasefire can fundamentally create conditions for easing the situation. Oh, stop it. You just want to get your oil. You don't have to lie to us. You don't have to come up with all this flowery prose here on how, this is good for everybody and humanity. No, you want to get your oil. You have too many people. You can't produce enough oil on your own to satisfy the demand of 1.4 billion Chinese people. And this is really going to wreck shop if they don't get that Strait of Hormuz open. And credit to China. You got to think that they don't really care who wins this. Can we just get our oil? I don't care if it's an Islamic republic or a secular Western liberal democracy. Can we just get our oil, please? All right. Hey, coming up in 2 days, the next Parker Report is happening at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. Come on out. This is your chance to meet the show, hang out with us. And, I forgot to mention, I should have said this like before today. You're not going to believe who our special guest is. Making your way in the... I'm Miss Parker. Miss Parker's going to be there. Miss Parker's going to be at the Parker Pour. So now it's plural. It's the Parkers with the apostrophe after the S pour. Yes, Miss Parker's going to be there. I'm going to do a live show, a whiskey and rye. It's the lobby bar of the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. I'm going to do a live show from 2 to 5, and then we're going to do a couple rounds of trivia, one at 5:30, one at 6:30. You can meet me. More importantly, you can meet Miss Parker. Come out, see the show. I don't like do anything visually spectacular. I'm not going to be juggling or anything. It's just me talking into a microphone, messing with a laptop. But I would love to meet you. And the cool part is y'all can meet each other, and James Show listeners can be friends with other James Show listeners. And then you can hang out. We'll do trivia afterwards and also get some great drinks, whiskey and rye. This is one of the few places where you can also bring your kid. So if you have your kid or, 19, 20, can't quite get into a 21-year-old bar yet, they're welcome to the Parker Sport. It's happening this Thursday. All right, coming up next, J.D. Vance response to the Iran situation and the high gas prices coming up on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, Texas homeowners, James Parker here for Blue Ribbon Roofing. There was a story in the paper this week where a guy just decided one day that he's going to be a roofer, so he started sticking signs in the median in different roads. He put a magnet sign on the side of his truck, and he went around and he got some friends, and they got some good roofs done here and there. But when they got more calls than they could service, they just kept the money and never did the roof. And it turns out they've now absconded with over $500,000. And the whistle has been blown on these guys. And even if they, go to court, go to jail, you don't get your money back. You don't have your money, and you still need a new roof. This is the kind of thing we warn about on these spots here. You want a company you can trust, a company who's been around in this area, locally owned family company. How about Blue Ribbon Roof, and doing it, what, 31, 32 years now in North Texas? You can trust them. Go to blueribbondfw.com. We got ourselves an old-fashioned blockade over here. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Blockade sounds like a word that you read in the history books, but we just don't do it anymore. You know, like a cavalry charge, or digging trenches, or building a wall around your city. But no, we're doing it. We're doing a blockade right now. The Straits of Hormuz is double blockaded. This is the Middle East version of double secret probation, I believe. And if you have a little too much gray hair on your head, you probably giggled at that joke. So the Straits of Hormuz were blocked by Iran, and when we say blocked, we selectively blocked. The boats that Iran wanted to come through the Straits of Hormuz, they were fine. The ones that they didn't, those were the ones that were blocked. So when Donald Trump says he's blocking the Straits of Hormuz, he's just saying, I'm blocking the rest of the boats. You're going to block our boats, we're going to block your boats. You want to try me? Go ahead. So we're trying to see what happens if China decides to float a boat through there. What's going to happen? They don't really have to rely on Lloyd's of London for their insurance. They're the Chinese Communist Party. They're the biggest machine out there. So there's a weird standoff that's kind of happening now. And you can see how this would work. Blockades work. Blockade, if you're trying to crush someone's economy, preventing them from trading with the outside world, will do the trick every time. But Fox News had a summary. We are now in day 2 of the blockade.
Today is day 2 of the U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, and President Trump warns that any Iranian ships challenging it will be eliminated.
So far, no reports of any major incidents or confrontations out on the Persian Gulf behind me where that American blockade is happening. Now, Fox's Lauren, yes, gas price.
JD Vance.
Sorry, there's a quick summary. And then we go to JD Vance, who was asked about, the pain at the pump. The pain at the pump isn't a surprise. It's not catching the Trump administration off guard. It's not catching JD Vance off guard. You got to think whatever intel they had or whatever motivation they had to go into Iran was so grave, so important that they were willing to risk the higher gas prices. They were willing to risk higher gas prices this close to the midterm election with no hope that they're going to go down and this is going to be resolved in time. So J.D. Vance was asked about this yesterday.
Well, the president said, Brett, that yes, gas prices are higher. Yes, energy prices are higher. First of all, they're higher from a baseline where we've never had the terrible energy prices that we had of the last administration. So we come at this from a position of strength. But Brett, absolutely, we know the American people are hurting. That's why that we're negotiating so aggressively to try to get the energy prices to come down. We're going to keep on working at it. I do think that we're in a place where we've accomplished our objectives.
And one thing I think we're all hoping for is when Trump had mentioned 2 days ago that, look, China, if we're blocking the Straits of Hormuz and that means you can't get your oil out, maybe you should buy from Venezuela. Now, if that happens, that's going to be an incredible turnaround. But here,
as far as China is concerned, China can send their ships to us. China can send their ships to Venezuela. We told them, buy from Venezuela. We have a lot of overcapacity. We'd sell them, and we'll probably sell it for even less money. I have a very good relationship with President Xi of China, and we work together very well. They're paying us substantial money, as you know. We've never got money before. I listened to this Gordon Chang. He has no idea what he's talking about. We have been very tough on China. Tough but fair.
And then we also have a mention there where Donald Trump threatened to impose some new tariffs on China if they provide military support to Iran. And so you have this weird balance where he's threatening to punish them, but then also giving them the solution to their oil problems by offering Venezuelan oil, of which our capacity we don't own, but we can definitely steer it in that direction. Do we have that power? I don't know. That'd be nice for Venezuela. That'd be nice for us. But it's another 50% tariff on a bunch of, not everything, but whatever. We're just looking at China saying, listen, I know this hurts. And I know you need oil, but please do not give Iran military help. Can you not do that? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. So overall, at the end of this, I feel like I should give you the summary here. I think this could work. I think this could absolutely work. And if it works, it's going to work quick. I don't think it's going to work today. I don't think it's going to work tomorrow. I think by next week, someone's going to have to budge. Someone is going to feel enough pain that either the outside world is going to be screaming at them, but all we have to do is get these two guys at a table, whoever's in charge of Iran, and I don't even know who that is. It's Ayatollah Jr., Ayatollah the Third, I don't know, and Donald Trump, and give them a deal that lets them turn around and tell their people and the rest of the world that they won. And I think that deal is a possible deal. That's not a fantasy, and it probably wouldn't be that hard to do. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Hey, today we're doing the Kid Rock contest every day this week. And in the Kid Rock contest, you're going to listen for the song Till You Can't. It's the song that he sang at the Super Bowl halftime for the Turning Point USA halftime show. So when you hear the snippet of the song played on this show, that's your cue to call. So when you call in, you're not just going to get the tickets. I'm going to ask you what the song means. I'm going to get 3 answers, and just give me one sentence here. We'll judge which one we like best. That person is going to win a pair of tickets. Now, for each of the winners this week, one of them is going to get upgraded to the grand prize, which is premium tickets, which means you're under the pavilion and closer to the stage. You also get a meet and greet with Kid Rock and some VIP merch on the house as well. So it's an amazing contest. It's the same phone number you use to call in if you just want to chitty chat on the show, 800-288-9227. But you're listening for the song Till You Can't. You're listening for the Kid Rock song Till You Can't. That's when you call in. All right, coming up next, more updates on the U.S.-Iran war, more specifically the Straits of Hormuz, and kind of on the periphery, this whole Venezuela-China subplot. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Fine. I didn't want to go through the Strait of Hormuz anyway. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I want to go through some recent history. When I say recent, we're going to jump in the time machine. We're going to go all the way back to March of 2026. Okay, so it's just like 5 weeks ago. But there was a protest. I guess this was 1 week into the bombing of Iran. And there was a protester who was saying, yeah, the U.S. is losing so bad. What does a guy like this think right now? Remember, this audio is coming from March 7th.
How do you feel about the U.S. going to war with Iran? The U.S. is getting they have used all their interceptor missiles. The U.S. empire is taking a massive hit, and I think maybe the largest defeat that it's ever seen.
Like, that was such a fantasy statement at the beginning, but not necessarily disprovable. Well, if we did run out of all our interceptors, I couldn't prove or disprove that on the spot. But now that we've had 5 additional weeks, yeah, looks like we're doing okay. This isn't the biggest defeat in military history. How bad do their predictions have to fail, and how many of them have to fall flat on their face before these people reevaluate their worldview? And this comes as a guy who's against the war. I wouldn't have done this. I would prefer if Trump hadn't have done this. It's not the end of the world. This isn't the biggest military defeat. It's not threatening the country. Actually, it hasn't really affected my life one whit, except for a few bucks in gas. Chris in Fort Worth. You're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Hey, what's going on? Are you there?
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. Hey, I want to push back a little bit what you said earlier about thinking that blocking the strait will work or not. I'm of the opinion that the only way to really have a satisfactory result is a regime change, and I don't know how you're going to do that without somebody going in and clearing out the physical people or the army or whoever's pressing the button, launching the missiles to create havoc in the strait. I just don't see how it's going to be long-term success, and I don't think that Iran is going to want to give up. I don't think there's any way to negotiate giving up, the uranium. That's their only leverage, unless they're just going to flat out lie about it. Yeah, we'll get rid of it, and then the next time there's buying time until we have another Democrat in office, which is totally feasible because, generally speaking, I don't think our next Democrat president is going to hold them accountable.
He'll probably, if we take their uranium, he'll probably give it back. the next guy,
with a plane load of cash.
Right. Hey, just promise not to do anything wrong with this.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so Chris, let me go ahead and address some of the things you've already brought up, because Donald Trump's been asked similar questions, and according to him, this counts as regime change. They've knocked out the top 40, 80 something Ayatollahs, and we're all the way down to this guy. Does that not count as regime change because you blew up the previous leaders?
Well, I would say no, because they're not advertising, hey, come on through, oil tankers, the strait is open.
Right. So then our definition of regime change is evolves a little bit, because I think you and I both agree that we would prefer to not have an Islamist theocracy in charge of Iran, whether it's this guy or the previous regime or some new regime. I think what a lot of us want when we say regime change is not just different people running the same government. Please, God, a whole different style of governance.
A democracy where the people of Iran have a choice to vote, on a fair election. That's the key, a fair election.
Why does it have to be democracy? Because like a military dictator in Pakistan works just fine. I think the sticking point is we need it to be secular.
Well, or at least an ally with us, or at least not somebody who is undermining us. Even though Iran didn't necessarily face to face, they always had their Hamas or their underlings creating havoc in the Middle East or wherever. But I think we're past the point of no return. It's debatable whether or not we should have done this for long-term success. If he can pull it off, then I would say yes. It could be 50 years of peace in the Middle East, which is a hard thing to imagine. But I think we're I think Trump's going to lose out on this one, no matter what he does. He's either going to have boots on the ground there, and nobody wants that, or
Yeah, I
he's
don't
not
think
gonna
anyone
do
will tolerate that,
anything.
and he knows it. Well, Chris, here's another weird part that just, I mean, it's right. It just makes me feel uneasy. Is that our strongest allies in this fight right now isn't the Western civilization democracies over in England and France and Germany. Our best friends right now are monarchies: Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait. You know, all these little emirates down there in the region. These are all people, places that are run by kings, and this is our best friends now. What? It's a weird situation, Chris. But
These are weird times. These are weird times. But Europe's not even acting like Europe. I mean, it's just a point. It's a point, in my opinion. This is good versus evil. You know.
well,
some of our strongest allies.
on one hand, I would like to see our European friends have a bigger backbone. On the other hand, last time Germany got full of themselves, they tried to take over the world twice. So maybe a little humility could reign there for a few more years without me complaining. Thank you very much. Good chat there, Chris in Fort Worth, with modest skepticism on the blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Coming up next, Eric Swalwell. He's in trouble. He's resigning today over a sex scandal. Details next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What even is a Swalwell? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You know how some people's last names are based on their ancestors' occupation? You know, like a carpenter or a Cooper is a barrel maker. A Parker is, I don't know, maybe I'm descended from a long, prestigious line of valets. Or I don't even want to know what a Swalwell is, but he's in trouble. And there's the perfect article for this was written by a friend of mine, Tim Young. It showed up in DallasExpress.com, but also on his Twitter feed. I have shared this out. If you want the full timing and the timeline on this, find me on a Twitter or find Tim's article or go to Dallas Express. I can't put it everywhere for you. But here's how it works out. In California right now, there is a race for governor that is kind of scary for the Democrats. And what we're looking at is the front runners are two Republicans, and then you have Swalwell in there as the top Democrat in the race. Now, you and I don't normally care a whole lot about who the governor of California is, but it really is a huge thing for the political world. And it starts to get really weird when you look at the fact that if Swalwell stays in, then the Democrat vote is going to be split. And I know this sounds crazy, but there's a chance that a Republican could win if the vote stays split. And so in some polls, it shows Swalwell's winning. And some of these other polls, Steyer's winning. Tom Steyer, you've probably heard of him before if you're a Politico. He's the billionaire, but he's one of the good billionaires, not one of the evil ones that stole everything and, you know, not one of the rich people we should eat. But as it stands right now, Steve Hilton is in first place over there. And splitting the vote between Swalwell and Steyer is no bueno for the Democrats. So the timing on this, it looks like, is so advantageous for the Democrat Party in this race that you have to be suspicious of it, because these are allegations that have been floating under the surface for years. These are accusers who have been speaking out for years, and the timing of this, finally, on Friday, San Francisco Chronicle, CNN, a bunch of other places started dropping reports on misconduct. Well, it got a little bit worse because yesterday, one of the ladies that was making the accusations had a press conference, and she went into detail, and it's actually not funny anymore. It's not funny at all. It's worse than I thought. Apparently, Swalwell wasn't just trying to use his power over his staffers to get, things that he wouldn't otherwise have gotten. Some of this may not have been even coerced consent. Some of it might not have even been consent at all. Some of it might have been incapacitated and unable to consent. Stick with me. I'm just going to play a couple minutes of this. I don't even want to say her name, but this was her press conference yesterday. And the microphone's going to scratch in a couple places. That's not me. I cleaned it up. It was worse than that when I recorded it, but ignore that.
In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swalwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. He we were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body.
We're just going to cut it off there. That's different. That's worse. So Eric Swalwell is now resigned from Congress. Boy, that didn't take long. After those initial reports came out over the weekend on April 12th. So what's that, Sunday? 7:30 p.m. He tweeted out, "I am suspending my campaign for governor. To my family, staff, friends, and supporters, I am deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment I've made in my past. I will fight the serious false allegations that have been made, but that's my fight, not a campaign's." Does anyone think these are false? If they were false, would you have dropped out? So this is terrible, and I try and see past the emotion of this because look, I've got girls. I don't want them to grow up in a world where guys can drug girls' drinks and rape them, and then everyone's going to turn a blind eye until it's politically advantageous. But that looks like the world we're in. That's awful. Good to know that he would have gotten away with it had it not been for the screwy governor election. How long was he going to get away with this if he wasn't running for governor? What if he decided to not run for governor and just coast in his seat in Congress? Would these girls never get justice? The selective timing of the hammer coming down on Eric Swalwell should bother everybody. And I thought it was kind of ugly and whatever over the weekend when I was giggling about this. But after I heard that lady yesterday, it just got twice as bad as it was. Because I get it. There's strategy involved in all these races, and there's political actors who will take everything for an advantage if it helps them win a race, whether it's, politically motivated, whether it's ethically motivated, whether it's nihilistically motivated. But now they're not just covering up for a guy who's a perv and a guy who has allegations or a guy who maybe touched the girl's shoulder too long. Now they covered up for a rapist for years? That's the news. And if you're going to have all of these exposés on Friday and over the weekend, why didn't it include that lady? Why am I just now hearing about this 4 days after the initial reporting? So, yeah, he's out. In exchange, the Republicans have agreed to drop one of their congressmen, Tony Gonzalez, the guy from here in Texas, who's the lady he cheated with, who self-immolated. So what a disgusting display of just soulless, at least sociopathic, if not psychopathic behavior that we've just seen in D.C. Coming up next, Chris Putnam from DallasExpress.com. He's got some hot opinions on this Eric Swalwell investigation and resignation, and we'll continue with this coverage next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, who would have guessed this Swalwell guy's pervy? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And I mean that totally sarcastically. I think that's one of the... Thank you. It was one of the... Now we're finding out that everyone knew about this. If you're just joining us, a congressional representative resigned today. Actually, a couple of them are resigning. Tony Gonzalez from the Republican Party, but that's scandals you've known about for months now. That's the guy whose girlfriend self-immolated. The new guy is Eric Swalwell. Now, this is a big story, not even because he's a congressman. It's because he was running for governor of California, and there's a few notable Democrats that are in the race. Villaraigosa, the former mayor of L.A., is in the race, eating up almost 5%. Katie Porter, who you've heard of before, taking up another 10, 11%. Then Eric Swalwell and Tom Steyer are the front runners on the Democrat side. But when you have the vote fractured four ways, well, that means the front runner right now is a Republican. And if the polls move just about, 2.3 percentage more for some guy named Bianco, then the two people in the runoff would both be Republicans. And it's not that Republicans are that popular in California right now. It's just this is the jungle primary, and the two highest vote getters go into the runoff, no matter what party they're in. So you get Swalwell out. A bunch of his supporters are going to go to Tom Steyer is the hope. That'll be the front runner. And then they'll work on seeing if they can squeeze out Steve Hilton altogether. But the timing is too much. And the timing is too much because since the articles came out on Friday and the calls for him to resign swelled over the weekend, and he stepped away from the gubernatorial campaign Sunday evening, well, now some more allegations have come out, and now he's had to jump out of Congress. Now, breaking this down perfectly was Tim Young. I saw this on DallasExpress.com. And a great example, linked to the story on Dallas Express, is a guy named Stephen Tavares. He says, I've covered Eric Swalwell since he was a member of the Dublin City Council. Shortly after being elected to Congress in 2013, his behavior toward women was known by all levels of our local government and Alameda County Democratic Party. And the response is exactly what you're thinking right now. Well, why didn't you turn him in? So I want you to stop thinking like a regular human being with a soul. Think like a politician. You have a guy like this. Now you have leverage over a guy like this. Now you have a politician who can be controlled. And so if you wonder why all these politicians go to D.C. and so many of them just throw their principles in the toilet and all start acting like the same robot hive mind, because a lot of them are like this. They're controlled. So what we learned here is these allegations of sexual misconduct and even rape didn't end Swalwell's campaign. The fear of a Republican governor of California did. Now to take a bit of a victory lap, Chris Putnam from Dallas Express. Now, it's your website I was reading this from earlier, but you also, with your political veteran status, also have some strong opinions on how this is going on all day, every day in the halls of power. All right, we'll continue with Chris Putnam from the Dallas Express. DallasExpress.com is his website. And the very suspicious resignation of Eric Swalwell, which leads a lot of us, and the next question we're going to ask is, how many Eric Swalwells are running around Congress unpunished right now? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, both political parties lose a pervert in Congress. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And, we're continuing with my guest, Chris Putnam from Dallas Express. DallasExpress.com is his website. And you had brought up Fang, Chris Putnam, in the, filling out the details on why we all knew or suspected, it was kind of an open secret, that this guy was, sexually very cavalier past an acceptable point. And, I'd pulled this old clip. This was from a few years ago. Marjorie Taylor Greene was in some hearing, and she brings it up about Eric Swalwell, and it gets kind of ugly. And I just giggled at this. Check this out.
That was quite entertaining from someone that had a sexual relationship with a Chinese spy, and everyone knows it. But they
move to take our words down. Yeah, completely inappropriate. Yeah, stand by just a second while we research the rule. Give me just a second.
I need to make sure I have my full 5 minutes.
Thanks, Dan. A motion has been made. The gentleman will, the committee will suspend, and the gentleman will state the words that he wishes taken down. Everything that the gentlelady from Georgia said. No, you need to be more specific. Accusations of...
All right, that's just so fun, because usually those congressional hearings are so boring. But yeah, what about the time you had an ongoing relationship with a Chinese spy? Chris Putnam, shouldn't that be a deal breaker for being in the halls of Congress? Like, how dumb are the voters in his district? Oh, the guy that was sleeping with a Chinese spy? Sure, we'll reelect him 4 more times. Strike that from the record. That is unacceptable. Now we know in hindsight they were rushing to make a phalanx to protect a rapist. Oh, of course. So if you had to ballpark it, would you say, I don't know, 10% of Congress has these problems? All right. We're continuing with Chris Putnam from Dallas Express. DallasExpress.com is his website, DFW's new record or paper of record. So Alex Swalwell just got traded for Tony Gonzalez. Now, he is a guy with sexual peccadillos that were untenable on Team Red. Doesn't it feel kind of gross that both political parties both agreed to simultaneously purge one of their pervs? Oh, wow. Well, yeah, that is one of the problems that even the founding fathers talked about in the Constitutional Convention is that democracies, the people in power or people attracted to that power, the people who should be furthest away from the reins of power. And conversely, the perfect person to be in charge, perfect person to be president is a guy who wouldn't even want to run. And so, like, I think about that a lot with the Electoral College. You know, George Washington didn't run for president. Each state voted on some guys that they wanted to send into a room, and they picked George Washington. And that's how the elector system's supposed to work. So is there any chance we get back to that instead of voting for some guy who's running a campaign? We don't have Doge cuts. We don't have a balanced budget. We haven't repealed Obamacare. We haven't even passed the damn SAVE Act. Real quick, Chris, can I put you on the spot? You coming out to the Parker Pour on Thursday? Well, turn off the music and cue the booze. You see? All right. Well, this is going to be a special edition of the Parker Pours because the guest of honor, Miss Parker, yeah, she's actually going to be able to come out this time. Hi, Miss Parker. Well, it's hard. Yeah, maybe so. Well, if I can squeeze it into your super busy schedule, Chris Putnam, appreciate that. All right, thank you very much. Check them out, Dallas Express. They've got a website, they've got an app. It's good stuff. Thank you, sir. I'm trying to have Tim on tomorrow to talk about that as well. All right, we're continuing the Kid Rock contest this week, and the Kid Rock is coming to town May 1st. And he's going to be at Dos Equis Pavilion. Each day, I'm going to give away a pair of tickets whenever you hear the song that he finished his Super Bowl halftime set with, Till You Can't. Whenever you hear the snippet from that song, call in. Tell us what that song means to you. We'll take 3 answers. The judges will pick one, and you'll be the winner. Now, where there's going to be one grand prize winner where someone is going to get their regular tickets upgraded to VIP tickets. They're also going to be part of a Kid Rock meet and greet. And then also they're going to walk away with some limited edition Kid Rock VIP merchandise. So just listen for the snippet, Kid Rock, Till You Can't on The James Show. Coming up next, Nick Plum. He's a local guy who was one of the principal participants in a new documentary on the Indian population explosion in Collin County. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, welcome back. You're listening to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, and there's a lot of people who are trying to do something about the absolute abuse of the immigration system that's affecting many towns in North Texas, most notably Collin County, Frisco, and to a lesser extent Plano. But I hear these complaints from friends over in Colleyville and some in South Lake and other neighborhoods who are, feeling some of this pain. And you don't feel like your concerns are being reflected in most of the media. You're right. Well, a cottage industry is popping up of local activists and people doing something about it. You're about to meet another one. Welcome to Nick Plum. All right, Nick, you want to start with your tool, or let's start with your backstory first. Who are you? Where did you come from? And how did you get involved in all this? So what did you see at Amazon? Over a span of how many years? Wow. Okay, so you came onto my radar recently for being part of a project from Tyler Oliveira. Explain that. Yeah, and so we see a lot of that happening up here in North Texas, and we have a small crew of people who are doing that. They're using your tool, looking it up, going through, knocking on doors, and it turns out that, I thought there was 49 people that were employed here. This looks like a regular house in Frisco. It's the weirdest thing. And so this is obviously going on thousands and thousands and thousands of times over. How do we stop this, Nick? What do you mean? Body shops, like for cars? Oh, okay. We're talking with Nick Plum. He's a local Texan trying to do something about the obvious immigration abuse here in the Lone Star State. And he's put together a tool, fraudreporter.visadata.org. I've seen other influencers already using this. Like Mark Palaciano is a guy up here in North Texas that used your tool recently to make one of his videos. Explain how people use this to make their own Nick Shirley videos in their own neighborhood. Yeah, and don't go to this map if you are faint of heart. You will see that the Dallas area leads Texas with the most H-1B applications. But here's where it gets concerning. You go over to California, and San Francisco has twice as many as Dallas. They just don't care. All right, Nick. I'm sure a bunch of people are going to ask me for that link. You want to share out a tweet, and I'll retweet it to stave off all the emails I'm going to get here. All right, thank you very much. This is the great Nick Plum, who we're going to have you back on the show, sir. I've been following some of your work online, and it's been very helpful. I appreciate it. All right, and if you are already on X/Twitter, the handle is at Plum Nick. He just does his name backwards, PLUMB, Plum Nick. All right, coming up next on the James Show, more on H-1B visa fraud abuse in North Texas. Yeah, it's worse than you thought. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, we're talking about immigration abuse here in North Texas, and really Texas in general. I'm James Parker, News Talk 93.3 FM, WBAP. My last guest was Nick Plum, and I'm already getting questions. Someone asked, what was the tool that you can look up the H-1B visas on a map? That was fraudreporter.visadata.org. Someone else asked, well, what's the documentary that you mentioned he was in? That was the Tyler Oliveira documentary. And I believe this just came out last week because this audio clip is from April 6th. So that was the show I played it on. So I guess that would be last Monday. Here is the intro from Tyler Oliveira's expose on the Indian explosion in Texas.
I came here on H-1B 2004. Everybody was Americans. But the fast forward, now you don't see any Americans.
This is Frisco, Texas, a once quiet farm town turned home to one of the largest and fastest growing Indian communities in America. As the Indian population exploded from less than 2% to almost 20% Indian in the last 20 years, many Texans are outraged, declaring there has been an Indian invasion. I pulled up to the Frisco Town Hall meeting to witness the clash of heritage Texans and their new Indian neighbors. Where are you from?
Hyderabad.
I'm from India.
From India? Where in India? Hyderabad? Why do you think Frisco became such a big hub for Indians?
They have their own community here.
No, it's not like that.
Not like that here in Frisco?
No.
Motherland India or Texas, USA?
Oh, obviously, motherland India.
Obviously, motherland India.
Hyderabad, of course.
Really? Did you come here on H-1B?
Yeah. I'm on H-1B.
H-1B?
Yeah.
You're H-1B?
Yeah.
Working here at 7-Eleven?
Yeah.
We need more or less H-1B people here?
We need a lot less. I have 2 master's degrees. I was making over $100,000 a year. They said, you're too expensive. We're going to hire Indians.
If residents don't wake up, you could eventually have an entire Indian city council here because they're showing up to the voting polls and they're getting their people in.
If we give this up, we're doomed. The devil would say, well, you're racist. That's racist. According to the devil's dictionary definition of the term, I am racist.
I came here on H-1B.
When did you come?
2004. I was only one Indian in entire my team. Everybody was Americans. But the fast forward, now if you go to my work any other places, you don't see any Americans.
I got laid off 20 years ago. I worked in IT. I have 2 master's degrees.
And how much do you think they pay the H-1B replacement?
Well, at the time, 20 years ago, they paid him probably half what I make. I haven't been able to find a job in IT since, and it's really sad.
My name is Shri. My name is Inba. My name is Ardav. My name is Siddharth. Hi, my name is GT.
This is insurrection. This is the overthrow of the United States government.
Why are people with multiple H-1B companies registered to one address donating to Frisco's first Indian mayor?
If these were truly high-skilled Germans or Poles, we'd welcome the net positive.
I urge the council to reject such a rhetoric that divides residents based on where they came from.
Every person in this room right now, their ancestors have come from a different country, a different continent.
It seems like there's a lot of Indian people that are opening up their own companies and they have H-1B. So are they using that to bring people over? Are they possibly running laptop farms out of their houses and having employees from India do work? I mean, there's so many different questions.
H-1Bs are the scapegoats. The employers, those are the people who have to investigate it.
If we turn away from God and the Word of God, if we worship these Indians, these Somalis, if we just give everything to them, willing to cut your own throat, we'll die. So what do I think about H-1B or whatever? I don't want to go to hell. I do not want to go to hell.
All right, so that's Tyler Oliveira's promo for his Indian explosion documentary. And some people, I felt you cringe when he was like, if we don't watch this pretty soon, the whole city council's going to be Indian. And then you heard the kids there. That was a whole Cub Scout troop that was doing the Pledge of Allegiance at the Frisco City Council. Every single one of them was Indian. It's like, well, James, that's really racist if you say you're concerned about, some institution being 100% one race. Oh, really? How about I bring you Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona, 3 days ago. He's a former astronaut talking about putting crews together. And he seemed to escape criticism for saying he would have a problem if it was all one race.
Now, in the United States Senate, I'm on the Armed Services Committee, the Intelligence Committee. We're going to hold these guys accountable for these policies. Now, let me tell you why this is also horrible for our country. So I had the opportunity to be the commander of the space shuttle a couple times. So I was the pilot twice, I was the commander twice. When you're the commander, you get some say in who your other crew members are going to be. So the last thing I would want in a space shuttle crew would be 7 white guy, U.S. Navy test pilots like me. It would be a disaster. And let me tell you why. The reason it would be a disaster is because we all think the same. We all have the same experience, the same training, the same kind of background.
Yeah. So you know where he's going with that. Okay, well, can we say the same thing about the Frisco City Council going to 100% Indian? Can we say that about any other race of people besides white people? Because the Houston Chronicle wrote an article 3 days ago that just got flogged online. I mean, it got beat like Rodney King. In the sports section, the headline says, Texas Rangers Tejas uniforms spark backlash over inclusion hypocrisy. And you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, one of the promo uniforms that the Texas Rangers, the alternate uniforms that they're going to wear, says Tejas, Tejas. And the Chronicle down in Houston, this was their post on Facebook. A new Texas Rangers jersey is getting attention, but not for the reasons you think. The Texas Rangers' new Tejas uniforms are meant to celebrate Mexican culture, but critics say the message doesn't match reality. From an all-white opening day lineup to ongoing questions about inclusion, the rollout is stirring backlash. The fact that the lineup for the Rangers was 100% white was seen as controversial. So 100% the same race is bad when it's white people on the Texas Rangers. It's bad when it's white people in the boardroom of Fortune 500 company. It's bad when Mark Kelly's choosing who's going to be the crew of the next space shuttle mission. But if you say that's bad for the Frisco City Council, you're supposed to be racist? Not buying that one. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. That doesn't work on us anymore. That doesn't work. You're going to have to find a new point of criticism. Coming up next, an avalanche of terrible bond proposals are going to be on your ballot next month. I'll make fun of all of them coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Just do me a favor and vote no on every bond from now for the rest of your life. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I know in life you're not supposed to say never. You're not supposed to say always. You're not supposed to use superlatives. And I imagine you can maybe concoct a scenario in which I would be okay with voting yes on a bond in a certain situation. But it's so rare in my actual observation of real life that over the years, I've just become a default no on any bond whatsoever. And it comes, once you have a little bit of experience under your belt, it has a big calming effect. You're nervous when you're young and you're just developing your political opinions, and you're very excitable. I mean, look at who goes out and protests and runs around in the street with a sign. Look who's getting themselves thrown in jail for firebombing a Tesla or shot by cops by interfering with ICE. These aren't the elderly among us. But I've also seen that for the things that are being said about bonds right now, I've heard those exact same things about bonds 20 years ago. I saw what happens when those bonds passed. I saw what happened in other instances when bonds didn't pass. And in every case where the bonds didn't pass, the horrible, scary scenario of what you were warned about has never come to pass. Some of it may not be as opulent or as amazing as you want. Maybe your school district doesn't have an $800,000 Jumbotron screen on their scoreboard. But that doesn't mean your kids aren't better off otherwise. That means you're not better. Think about that. That money had to come out of the cash registers of local businesses. It had to come out of the bank accounts of local residences, the property taxes, that little cut of your mortgage, the sales tax, a little slice of the cent that is added to every purchase. That stuff all adds up and it means something. And so when I hear what's going on right now with bonds, it is out of control in Texas. Texas leads the country in public school bonds. And it seems like almost every big city in Texas is trying to make that as bad as possible. The way it was described in a report I saw in Dallas Express is right now, Dallas ISD wants to take on so much debt, it would be more than the debt they've already accumulated in their previous 100 whatever years of accumulating debt. We are already off the charts above all these other states where we owe more than $100,000 per student in some of these school districts. Prosper's looking at billions in bonds. And it's just got to stop. And it has to be pulled back. And this Fort Worth case, let this be, if you haven't studied this before, let this be your test case. Let me play this again from WFAA where they talk about the bond proposals that you people over in Tarrant County, you're going to be voting on this next month.
You do have a say and a vote. Now your tax dollars are spent. The people here in Fort Worth have a decision to make, and tonight a chance to be informed on their vote for $845 million worth of bond propositions. So the community engagement event happens tonight ahead of the May 2nd vote on 6 ballot items. The 2 big dollar bonds are Prop A to spend $511 million on streets and mobility infrastructure improvements, and Prop B, spending $185 million for park, recreation, and open space acquisition and improvements. Some of the other propositions devote money to library improvements, affordable housing, a police and fire and emergency communications facility, and animal shelter improvements. According to the city website, the size of the bond package does fit within the existing property rate, so no tax increase is anticipated. But it is a chance to ask these questions to city leaders tonight at the Diamond Hill Jarvis Community Center at 6 o'clock. There's going to be 2 more of these events later in the week on Thursday and Saturday.
All right, that was the great Chris Sadeghi. Big fan of his work on WFAA. But he was telling you exactly what you needed to know. The crazy part is the admission by the Fort Worth powers that be that they're not going to have to raise taxes to accept these bond payments, which means they actually have some extra money left over in their budget, which means they're not so stretched thin that they're going to have to take out some debt just to keep the streets maintained, just to keep public safety. So think about it like this. They need more money for projects. Instead of using the extra money that they already have laying around every year, they're already collecting more from you than they need. Instead of giving that money back to you, and I'm not even asking them to make cuts. I'm just asking them to take the excess money and give it back to you. Instead of that, let's just imagine your household and you have your income coming in and you have all your expenses, and it turns out you have $2,000 a month left over. Now, instead of saving that or returning that or doing something smart with it, you're not even spending it. What you're doing is they want to go out, and when you get a bond, it's like taking a mortgage and you're like, how much money can I spend where the payments would be covered by this $2,000 a month? And so that's what they're doing. So instead of getting to spend this extra $2,000 a month, they get to spend an extra $300,000 a month because they financed it. Meanwhile, you're going to be left holding the bag. And the prime chance that you have right now for you to get some property tax relief, for them to do the right thing and return that money to you, or at least stop taking as much from you next year, is gone. Not only is it gone, you're trading tax relief for a tax burden from now until, I don't want to say infinity, but when are we ever going to run out of bonds? It really is that bad. Dallas is doing the exact same thing. I looked up all their bond proposals. Every single one was terrible. Dallas ISD, every single one of them absolutely unnecessary. You have a school district with a declining enrollment saying they need to build new schools. Stop it. Stop. We have to stop all this madness. Prosper, you're the worst. $2 billion for a town that is about the size of the arena I'm sitting at. And I'm exaggerating to make a point, but you get it. So how about for now, until proven otherwise, on every bond you ever come across at any ballot box ever, just vote no. 800-288-9227. I'll get some reaction to the bond situation, and we're going to check in on the Straits of Hormuz next. Also, keep listening for the Kid Rock sounder. I'm sorry, earlier when they played the promo, that was not it. But when you hear Till You Can't on The James Show, not during the commercials, on The James Show, you're going to call in. We're giving away tickets to Kid Rock. He's going to be here May 1st. And then the daily winners get thrown into a grand prize for VIP tickets, merch, and a meet and greet. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, are you in pain anywhere? And I don't mean are you suffering so bad that you're sweating bullets and you can't continue. I mean, a lot of people, maybe even most people, have some sort of lingering pain. You're on this earth long enough, eventually that cartilage between your joints is going to wear down. You don't even have to do anything wrong. Well, I was a person who I have mild pain, like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 1. On some days, I sleep wrong and I wake up and my back hurts, or I've done that thing where you sneeze too hard and your back hurts for like the rest of the day. So it's nothing extreme, but I went to QC Kinetics. They put me under the little sonogram. They looked and they're like, yeah, and between these lumbars down here, you have quite a bit of inflammation. Maybe you should try some of our treatment. So you know what? I started. So I'm trying QC Kinetics. I'll let you know how it goes. I had my first treatment today. It was quick. I was in and out in about 30. Well, I chatted for a while. The whole process was maybe 30 minutes, but it wasn't even that much paperwork. And look, this is outside of the sorry healthcare system that you might be used to. This is, you just pay cash when you do it. If you need to set up a payment plan, that's cool, but you don't have to get your insurance involved or anything like that. So it's super simple, super fast. I was in, I was out. They didn't put me under. There's no drugs. There's no downtime. I'm not in pain. And I didn't even have to take off my clothes and put on one of those embarrassing gowns. So if you are living in pain and you're looking at options to get out of it, I'll let you know how QC Kinetics goes. In the meantime, you can call them yourself and get your own consultation. 972-972-8610. 972-972-8610. I say no to bonds. Yes to the Straits of Hormuz. Got a lot going on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. So we're talking about the bond issues. And look, I was playing the Fort Worth bond issue coverage from the news, but this applies to exactly what's going on in Dallas. This applies to what's going on in almost every jurisdiction that is hearing me right now. You're going to go to the ballot on May 2nd. You're going to see some bonds. And I know that it's somewhere you can find an excuse for a good bond, but your default position on all of these should be no, and your exceptions should not show up on every ballot. I mean, an exception every 5-10 years maybe. But these are they're not just bad, they're terrible. You should be hyper suspicious of the guy who's telling you he needs to take out debt to do the thing he's supposed to do first. Like if you needed to take out debt, what is this for? Well, this is so I can make my house payment. Oh, well, it sounds like you can't afford your living situation. You probably need to lower your standard of living rather than take out debt just for the basics. But you find out the guy has a boat and some jet skis and goes to the country club, plays a lot of golf, spends money. His wife gets the fillers and the Botox. And no, you don't need this for just your house. This will cover your house, and that'll free up money for you to do things that aren't popular at all. But how do you expect your taxes to ever go down if you keep voting for these terrible ideas? Conley in Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. We went to the Diamond Hill information meeting last night. Anticipate to raise our taxes to pay for these bonds, and they don't plan on raising our taxes to pay for these bonds, which means they're going to raise our taxes to pay for the bonds. And, of course, I asked them about the surplus. They've got a massive surplus, hundreds of millions in surplus. Mm-hmm. They have over $85 million in revenues from interest and dividends over the last, I think it's 4 or 5 years, and asked them about that. And they said, well, they're restricted funds. And I reminded them, well, they're restricted only by the policy set forth by the city council, and they will change the policy to fit what they want. They changed it in August last year to pull $12 million out of those restricted funds, and $2 million of that went to fix the 18th floor of their new city hall. So they have the power to change their policy anytime they want. And I challenged the council member that was there at the next council meeting to bring it up and change the policy and offer taxpayers some relief.
Conley, good job for going to the meeting and sharing that with us. Thank you. You make me think that I should probably say this more often, because people don't understand like my full worldview of how we should run things. Because I'm against taxes. I want taxes to be as low as possible. I don't want there to be an income tax. I don't think there should be Social Security tax. I don't think there should be Medicare tax. Like a lot of taxes would just fall by the wayside. And people are like, well, James, we have to fund the government somehow. And I really like the idea of using the endowment method that you see many colleges use, and a lot of nonprofits do this as well. Like Harvard has a $50 billion endowment or something ridiculous like that. So they get whatever interest that generates, with them putting some back in to keep up with inflation. So they get like, what do they get out of that? Like $2 billion just straight up cash a year from their endowment. Why can't we do that? Why can't Fort Worth do that? See, it sounds like they've started doing that. They have some sort of invested funds that they get revenue from every year. If we could just grow that fund, then we wouldn't have to tax the property owners. And people think my little fantasy of, well, we shouldn't have property taxes, we shouldn't have income taxes. Dude, we could realize this, and it wouldn't be nearly as hard as the elites make it sound. It's just this would cut them off at the knees, because they would actually have to make some cuts. They would actually have to save money. They have to spend less than they take in, and they would actually have to cut taxes.
Absolutely. And that massive surplus tells me that we're overtaxed, and that money belongs to the taxpayers, not to the city.
Yes. And the last thing we need is more debt. Apparently,
exactly.
Yeah, we have more money to cover our bills than we need. RL in Fort Worth. This is RL on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.
Well, James, I had mentioned the Diamond Hill area as the gentleman just did, and I'm glad he went to that too. That's great. What you said a while ago is absolutely what we need to be having people do. Live within your means, not with what you want, not with what the television says. I mean, when I see people pull out EBT cards and they got two kids standing there with $100 a month cell phones, and they got a cell phone, and then you want things like that. I mean, that's just an example. I know that's probably a terrible example because it's so biased and criminal to even say something like that. But we don't live within our means in this country. Starting with the government, and crap rolls downhill. But even in the local governments, when they consider $100 million high school football stadium in McKinney, Texas, of all places. And I'm thinking, what kind of insanity is going on here when they're building these $500 million mausoleums that look communistic and call it a high school?
Well, and at the same time, McKinney's building like a $1 billion new theater so they can host musicals from Broadway. Like, that's what you need. That's what you need to spend $1 billion on.
Well, I think Troy Aikman's got part of that game too, though. Actually, so
well, it'll be nice to see him finally make some money. Isn't that right, RL? All right. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. All right, a couple things to remind you of. Number one, coming up in 2 days is the next Parker Pour, and I know you don't want to see me, but my guest of honor is going to be the great Miss Parker. Yeah, this is Miss Parker's first public appearance, well, at least at an official radio event. But she'll be out there. It's at the Whiskey and Rye Omni Fort Worth Hotel right downtown across from the Fort Worth Convention Center. Come down there because it's one of the few places where you can go and get some adult beverages, and your kids can actually be there. So your kids can go. Miss Parker will be there. I'm going to do a live show from 2 to 5. We're going to have some awesome giveaways like we've been having the last 3 months. And then I'm going to host a couple rounds of trivia after that. One is happening at 5:30. Another one is happening at 6:30. So there's no excuse. If you're in the area when you get off work, come right over. If you're from a little bit further away, when you get off work, come over and you'll be in time for the 6:30 trivia round. And even if you missed the first round, you're still able to win some prizes. Plus, this is just a really cool place. A listener gave me a gift certificate because he missed it last time. And thank you very much, Eddie, for that. But I thought that was great because this is a place I would hang out downtown. It's a great place to watch hockey or basketball playoffs. They got a whole bunch of craft beers. Their cocktails have waiters that know what they're actually doing. They have a sweet new whiskey and bourbon list, and they keep rotating things out. They've got some allocated products for you people who know what that means. So come check it out. It is the Parker's Pours in 2 days at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. Also, we're doing the Kid Rock contest. So if we come back from the commercial break and you hear Till You Can't, you're going to want to call in to win Kid Rock tickets. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, what's up, all cool kids who watch the James Show, News Talk 820 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. All right. I've been talking about it enough. I'm giving away the Kid Rock tickets now. So go ahead and call in 800-288-9227 while the rest of us listen to the sounder here. And this was the extra verse that Kid Rock had added to the song that he was covering during the Super Bowl halftime show.
There's a book that's sitting in your house somewhere that could use some dusting off. There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus and he'll give you a second chance till you can't take it. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back. If you're gonna love somebody, hold them as long and as strong and as close as you can until you can.
All right, let me tell you what's at stake here. May 1st, Kid Rock's going to be in town. He's on his America 250 tour. Because don't forget, y'all, this is America's 250th birthday. We should be very proud. Doesn't look a day over 200. I have a feeling that if it didn't make Donald Trump look cool, then this would be a bigger news story here. But it's going to be him and Brantley Gilbert and some other great acts. Now, everyone who wins Monday through Friday is going to get regular tickets, but one of the 5 people is going to be upgraded to VIP tickets, a meet and greet with Kid Rock, and VIP merch. But you don't just get the tickets. I played the clip. You have to tell me what the songs means to you in 30 seconds, maybe a minute tops. Brian, Azel, you're on WBAP. What does that song mean to you?
Man, the song itself is amazing. When I watched it during the Super Bowl halftime, we were actually at Disney World, and I got 6-year-old twin boys. One of my twin boys was sick up in the room with me, and I was taking care of him. I was bawling my eyes out watching that. It was so emotional watching Bob do his thing under his name, Robert. So that's what I got.
Good stuff. All right, that's a strong start. Bringing in the kids is a nice emotional pull. Let's try Justin in Grandview. You're on WBAP. What does that song mean to you?
Well, it's life is always changing. Sometimes it can change in an instant, and you don't need to be fiddle farting around. If there's something you want to do it. Don't be procrastinating.
Okay, Justin gets extra points for saying the term fiddle farting because I didn't know that was like a Texas-specific phrase until Miss Parker, I went and stole her from New Orleans and brought her back here. And she came home. She was like, this lady at work today said fiddle farting. And she just started laughing. And I was like, so what? She's like, well, that's hilarious. I'm like, I know, but what was happening? She's like, no, it's just the fact that she said that. I'm like, I don't know, baby. It's a pretty common phrase around here. We're kind of idiots. Rod in Fort Worth, what does that song mean to you?
Well, life is short and tomorrow's not guaranteed, so take the time to spend it with the people that are important to you.
Okay, there's Rod in Fort Worth. Again, 3 compelling answers. Judges, 1, 2, or 3, what do we think? I was doing this one. You want to do this one? Oh, okay. That one. We're going with that one? Okay. So I think it was the fiddle farting that put him over the edge there. This is Justin. Justin in Grandview, you're our big winner, buddy. You are able to go on May 1st. Like, I'm not wasting these tickets giving them to you.
No.
All right. Well,
Go.
Good to hear. All right. So don't hang up. I'll put you on hold. Good Garrett's working on the board today. He'll get your information. We will email you the tickets. For the rest of you, you can still go. I don't think it's sold out yet. But Dos Equis Pavilion, May 1st, Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, America 250 Tour. Should be awesome. I have a quick check-in here with our friends in the Straits of Hormuz. I got Good Garrett to go out there and set up a internet connected microphone. Let's just see how things are going.
You gotta pay the troll toll. If you want to get into that boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll to get in. You want the baby boy's hole, you gotta pay the troll toll. You gotta pay the troll toll to get in. Troll toll. What you say? Troll toll. Hey, hey, hey. Troll toll.
Here's your toll, troll.
Oh, so the Straits of Hormuz are open again. Success. Oh, things just keep getting better over there. I knew the Middle East would settle down one day. All right, coming up next on the James Show, we're going to make some more fun of the local news here and the selective outrage of which politicians get in trouble and which ones don't. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, so who's going to get booted from Congress next? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. It's the show that's on from 11 to 2 with a ton of stories you're not going to hear anywhere else. Be sure to check them out if you haven't fallen in love with them already. So today, earlier, right before the James Show, about a half hour before the James Show, Anna Paulina Luna was back on TV, and CNN doesn't have her on for just any old thing. Yesterday, I was playing you some audio from her where she was demanding that if, Swalwell doesn't need to be the only guy that's going down. There's a lot of other nasty people in Congress, and they should probably be booted with them. Well, the conversation that was had because of Eric Swalwell, it's starting to have people catching strays over here, because I think the plan was Eric Swalwell needs to step down from running for governor of California because he is splitting the Democrat vote and he's going to cause them to lose, right? That they selectively timed this information to come out in order to save the governorship of California for the Democrats. And that's not even a stretch or a conspiracy theory. It's pretty damn obvious. However, politics is an ugly game. That's all legal. They can do that. I'm not even offended or going to lose any sleep or upset. Well, this is so corrupt. But the conversation that accidentally happened because of that, well, he can't step down from Congress. Why? Well, we have such a slim margin between the two parties that would upset the balance. And if, we're going to give someone up, that's not fair unless you can get the other side to give someone up. And so what do you mean? Like a Tony Gonzalez or like a Corey Mills, or, why is Swalwell getting kicked out, but Sheila McCormick isn't? And so some other names were being popped up like, well, who can we give up to balance this out? And so we just had a discussion over who are the scummiest, obviously corrupt, vulnerable members of Congress. And they landed on Tony Gonzalez. But what about all these other people we just spent the weekend talking about? So it is with that context, Anna Paulina Luna on CNN at about 1:20 Texas time today.
You mentioned that you were anticipating that more members would either be expelled or forced to resign. Obviously, there's probably information that because of investigative reasons you can't divulge, but can you give us an estimation, a number of how many you think may be soon to depart?
Probably 2, and it'll probably happen the week of the 21st. Sheila McCormick has been found, guilty on 25 different violations, stealing of $5 million in FEMA funds. I don't think the Democrats are going to vote to protect her. In fact, I know they won't. The votes are there. And there's another member of Congress that the Speaker is looking into the congressional ethics report on, that I'm finding is pretty alarming. And so I think there's more to come on that. But again, I won't be leading any of those expulsions. Sure. Those are being led by other members of Congress.
Is that Congressman Corey Mills?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, these are the worst kept secrets possible, which means they're not secrets at all. It seems like the parties are using this to sort of flake off some of the dandruff that they've accumulated. And look, if we're going to be getting rid of Swalwell and we dump this guy, this would be a good chance for us to get rid of Tony Gonzalez. And well, there's this other lady that's getting punted, and the Democrats won't agree to punt her unless we punt someone on our side. But we really want to get rid of Corey Mills, too, because he makes us look bad. And if he's going to be the incumbent going into the next election, that might not be good for saving that seat. And he may end up costing us a seat later. And you may be wondering who Corey Mills is. First off, the Sheila McCormick, you may have heard her story. She stole $5 million from FEMA. Great lady. Just fantastic. I didn't know the Corey Mills story. I had to look that up from this interview. But since February of last year, he broke up with a girlfriend and has since contacted her on numerous times through numerous accounts. Even when she blocks him, he goes around it. And he's threatening to release nude images of her and videos of her and, adult acts of them two together. And so he's been giving her a hard time and just, threatening revenge porn is illegal and it's ugly and it's not good for business. And so I think we're going to get some more sort of accidental ejections just as stray bullets from the Eric Swalwell scandal. That's odd. Values being enforced by accident in Congress. Hey, coming up in 2 days, the next Parker Pour is going to happen. It's at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. The lobby bar is called Whiskey and Rye. It's a fine place, and I know you don't mind spending a couple extra bucks, so the floor is not sticky, and it's not full of 23-year-old kids, and it doesn't smell bad. And no, this is a fine establishment. You can bring your kid. You can valet park if you want to use the garage. It's kind of fancy over there. So it's not too fancy. They'll still let me show up, and I'm going to do a live show from 2 to 5. I'm going to do a round of trivia at 5:30, a round of trivia at 6:30, and we've got some great prizes here. Thank you very much to Whiskey and Rye for giving up the gift certificates. Round 1 and 2 winners each get a $50 Whiskey and Rye gift card. But during the show, we're going to be giving away 3 different Whiskey and Rye gift cards, 2 pairs of Ranger tickets, a $25 gift card to Eatsies, and a $25 gift card to Gigi's Cupcakes. And I recommend all of those, except for Gigi's. It's so good. I just crush 800 calories in a sitting. I can't help myself. I didn't know, I'm not a big cupcake guy. Whenever they bring them up here for some catering event or for a studio meeting or something like that, I end up just crushing cupcakes until I'm full. I make a meal out of it. That's terrible. All right, so come on out. It's the Parker's Pour and the big guest of honor. I know y'all are probably more excited about this than me. Miss Parker's going to be there for her first official WBAP event experience. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate that. Stick around. The great one, Mark Levin, is coming up next. Go find my podcast when you get bored. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.